everyone. Excuse me. Thank you for joining today's session. As usual, we'll start with a quick mind relaxation technique. So let's sit back and relax. And just let's ask ourselves one question. Am I happy? Am I relaxed? If I am asked to focus only on myself, on how I am feeling, on my state of mind, am I able to withdraw my attention from everything else and simply redirect my attention to myself and how I am feeling? Am I able to do that? Just one simple task of redirecting my attention towards myself, to assess how am I feeling. No matter what be the answer to the question, how am I feeling? Just by asking this question, the mind is simply redirected. And the moment the focus comes on me, myself, that's when the thoughts start slowing down. Why is that so? Obviously, I am some energy of stability or calmness. And the moment I am directing my attention to myself, directing the mind to myself, the mind is slowing down. This space of emptiness is really who I am at my core. A being of peace, natural being of peace is who I am. And I can only connect to myself, my own energy. That is always available to me. Every second. If I start thinking about myself, I'm not forcing thoughts about myself. I'm just asking some logical questions to myself, and the mind starts focusing on my own energy. So even if I take one thought, I'm a being of peace. And every few seconds, I keep just repeating this thought. I am a being of peace. That helps the mind to stay anchored to my own energy of peace. So let's gradually come out of this awareness and give our mind the permission to not get diverted, distracted in different directions, but only stay focused on this session today. So, with this, let's start our new session with a new practical topic. And again, we'll meet towards the end of the session with a mind empowering technique. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Raki, for the wonderful meditation and sharing that mind relaxation technique with all. So, hi everyone. This is Prashant. Welcome all to our session on data analysis. So, in fact, this is not a session, but this is going to be a series wherein we are looking forward to have multiple connects with you on every weekend and to help you how you can progress and learn the data analysis skills and use for your career advancement. So we'll get started. But before we get started, can we have a quick round of short introduction from your side? Can you put on your chat boxes like, are you a student or a working professional or whatever you are into? Can you put that into a one word and put it into the chat? I would really appreciate uh, understanding each one of you. You're coming from which background so that we can accordingly adjust our explanation around various areas to help you understand everything in a better manner. So request all to please put a word about you in the chat box. Thanks, Saurav, for letting us know that you are a software developer. Thanks, Damayanti, and request each and every one of you here who are present in the session to mention a word about yourself. That is how we are gonna interact and we'll get to know each other as well. Thanks, Ashish. Okay, so we have students as well. So welcome, Riyansh. So Riyansh, you are in which class? Can you put that as well on the chat? Okay, that is really good to know that you are in class 6 and still inspired to learn Python data analysis. I think you are continuing from our last series as well. So welcome you as well. Thanks, Vivek. Thanks, Sister Sarita. Okay, welcome Sanket and welcome Gaurav as well. So thanks all for sharing your introduction about yourself in a word. That was really helpful in understanding the overall background of all of us. Okay, welcome Mayank. Looking forward to engage with you as well. So welcome all and let's get started today. So I have a brief presentation to start with our today's session. So I will quickly share that presentation and we'll get started. I will give you a brief agenda, what we are gonna cover in our today's session and what we are gonna target in our overall series. So what is that you are gonna accomplish at the end of this session, you'll be able to understand and how all of these things will be helpful in you to make a career or to progress in your career. You will get to know that as well. And what are the various aspects, what are the various toolings that we are going to use to basically simplify our data analysis journey, simplify our understanding of all of these concepts and fundamentals. So that is how you will be able to understand. So I will share my screen, but please feel free to put anything in the chat box. If you have any clarifications or questions, we'll try to answer them as well. Let me know once my screen is visible to you all. Can uh, can you all please acknowledge if you're able to see? Okay, thanks, Anita. So here I have a deck that I will cover first to showcase you what are the things that we are going to target. And then we are going to look at the practical aspects of those toolings, those concepts that will help us uh, target those data analysis and we'll look at some of the tutorials. We'll try to do some practicals today, but we'll keep the session very, very fundamental today because I see that some of us are students, some of us are already working professionals, but uh, we may not have a very great hold on data concepts. So we'll try to keep it fundamental today itself so that moving on, when you have your fundamentals clear, your basics clear, you're able to absorb everything when we go above the level, when we gradually step up towards the intermediate, the advanced level of data analysis. So that was all that we are gonna cover. But before that, let me give a brief introduction about myself. So I am Prashant. I am a working professional like you, most of you as well. So with overall 9 years of working experience. So I started my career in 2014, and since then I've been in IT industry and yeah, continuing my journey along. And we have many experts part of our team. We have Dr. Mukesh, who has a great hold of various IT domains. So he will also be sharing his experience at the later part of this session. And we have other teammates as well who will interact with you going forward in various sessions. So with that, let me start with the session. So first of all, as you can see that uh, I have a prerequisite slides that talks about certain prerequisites, which is Anaconda and Jupyter. So before I talk of them, can any one of you tell me on the chat if you are aware of what Anaconda is, what Jupyter is, and what are they used for? Anybody of you, I see most of you are working professional. Can you please put on your comments on the chat so that we get to know if you have any idea about this? Okay, thanks, Rayansh. I see you know about it. So would you mind, Rayansh, if you unmute yourself and let all of us know what are these prerequisites that I'm talking of?
Thank you, sir, for letting me explain about Anaconda and Jupyter here. So,
Yeah.
Anaconda is like a type of platform on which, like, uh, it's an you can see an alternative to an Replit, and here also we can code, but with here we have more functionalities. Like,
Yes.
we have more when we open
Yes,
the
that's
and
right.
thank you. And Jupyter is actually, you can say, if you it's like a type of notebook, Jupyter notebook. So when we add any code in it, so it makes
Mhm.
it runs in a cloud.
Okay. Yeah. So that's very right. So Anaconda is like an HTE. It has a lot of internal toolings present within it, and see, Python is a programming language, and then the successor, and then the next version of the Python programming language is there is a new variant that is coming in, which is also known as Anaconda. But here, the Anaconda that we are talking of is a tool, basically, which has many internal which bridges various Python dependencies. It has various internal libraries and internal toolings that can help us experiment on Python, do more collaborative things in a centralized manner on Anaconda. And Jupyter is a environment wherein you can basically experiment with your Python code. So the traditional way of coding is that you basically write a program and then you basically test that program as a whole. So Jupyter helps you simplify that by breaking your code into components, and you don't have to test your complete code in a serial go. You can test it in multiple parallel executions as well. And that is how your code execution, code experimentations becomes simpler. So that is why we are recommending you all. So I think Vinod, you will have to install it, because otherwise, if you'll go with the cloud variant, I'm not sure if that is free. That could have some sort of fee attached to it. So it is better to have it installed on your local machine. But if by any chances, if your machine is not compatible, then feel free to avoid it. But you might have to do some extra efforts in writing a code in a text format, basically using some code editors, and then you will have to experiment with them in multiple executions. So that is how you can go ahead. So now, what are the advantages of data analysis workshop? But before that, yeah, thank you very much, Riyansh, for answering, coming on and unmuting yourself and answering that question. So appreciate that. Now, let's take a look at the advantages of this workshop on data analysis. So data is everything in today's market or today's world. Even if you are not uh, a corporate in IT, like you are not working in IT, even then you are consuming and creating a lot of data through your mobile phones, through your identity. You are creating a lot of data. Even if you're going to a store, you're purchasing something. The first thing they basically request you is not cash, but they request for your ID and phone number, and so that they can keep a track of what all customers they have. So just like that, there is a lot of data involved in today's every aspect of living. So first of all, decision making through data. Now, uh, corporates rely on data. They don't make decisions just like that. They heavily rely on data, because data gives accurate results, accurate facts and figures, based upon which you can basically uh, plan, you can basically target, or you can basically start a new journey. Uh, it could be any aspect of any industry. For example, let's say if a company, if an automobile company is planning to launch a new car, then uh, the foundation of working out that car, that automobile, depends on a lot of data. So they will analyze a lot of data about their previous purchase, previous cars, about that they will try to strategize that development of that automobile, and they'll try to target it. And then we have automation of data reports and presentations. So if you are somebody who is already a working professional and you have to work out through a lot of Excel sheets, CSV sheets, and presentations to be able to generate monthly or weekly or quarterly reports, then this workshop is for you, because this workshop will definitely let you know what are the best practices, how you can reduce that manual work of analyzing a lot of raw data and preparing the final reports and presentations to be. So now, as we know that if you are a working professional, then each and every organization, okay, is my voice breaking for all, or is it with specific people? Okay. Is it any better now? Okay, just allow me a minute. So I hope it won't break now. It should be okay now. Is it okay now? Yeah. So thanks for confirming. Now, this workshop will help you gain a competitive advantage within your team, within your organization, because organizations and internal teams within those organizations promote their employees for the value additional work that they showcase. So if you are able to showcase your work creatively, so like and like if, even if you are an employee in a small organization or in a MNC, that does not matter. But ultimately, I assume that every role has some sort of data dependency. And if you are able to creatively do that work using Python or data analysis through those Python libraries, you can make a great impact within your team and organization. And that is how you can gain that highlight and showcase as a quality employee, so that at the end of the year your work is considered and you achieve that growth within your organization. It also helps you gain career advancement. So if you are somebody who is into a different role, and but you aspire to become a data analyst, you are interested and curious about how data analysis can be done, and and you want to also make a career in data analysis, then this workshop is also for you. You'll get to know and you'll get to clear all the fundamentals, right? How this workshop can help you advance in your career. This can be a breakthrough to plan your journey ahead for the data, like for the advanced data analytics aspects. So as you know that in MNCs, in great MNCs, big MNCs, there are many roles specifically for data analytics, data engineering, data science. So there is a huge scope of data in upcoming generation, upcoming years, and you can easily target your career advancement through this workshop. And last of all, I don't have any other point to make. The only point now I want to call out is data is the new oil. And you all know how much expensive the oil has become. And if you own an oil well in a country like Middle East, then you know how much worth you will have. And that defines what data is. And if you know even a small skill with data, no matter what, that skill is a big skill. That skill has a lot of value in today's market, because if you know how to process data, if you know how to simplify the extraction of insights from raw data, from bulk of data, then you are going in the right direction in your career, because that is the most required skill. And now there are a lot of technologies that are solely dependent on data. Technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and machine learning also has subdomains within it: media processing, textual analysis, and tabular data analysis, image and video processing. So there is a lot of dependency of the cutting edge technologies on data. And that is why data is now considered as an emerging field wherein a great career advancement can be made. So that is all with respect to the advantages. I hope you found it interesting, and you'll be inspired to know all of this, and you can basically uh, start looking at the data aspects, the data technologies, and explore them. Now, this is today's agenda that we are going to cover. This uh, today we are going to look at the fundamentals of data analysis and data visualization. We are going to look at the various aspects of visualization because there are numerous ways a data can be visualized. We have graphs, charts, line graphs. There are pie charts that we can basically through which basically we can represent our data. And then we are going to look at the Anaconda Navigator, how Jupyter notebooks can be helpful with our Python data analysis programming. And then we are going to target specifically these libraries and modules, which is matplotlib and pandas. And we are going to target this particular module under matplotlib. So matplotlib is a library that helps you with data visualization. It is basically a library that can create dynamic charts for you as per your use case and help you visualize very, very complex data in a simple graphical format. So these are some of the aspects that we will be looking at today. Now, without data, you are just another person with an opinion. So this makes sense. If you are in a real environment, if you are working for a corporate, then they will not make guesses to plan anything. They will not rely on any like on they want concrete facts to progress on anything that they are working internal projects. It could be internal projects or any internal thing. It heavily relies on data. Like even starting a new field, like starting a new project, corporates rely on the data, like what, how have their previous spend been, and based upon that they will check the KPIs, which is known as key performance indicators, how their previous products have performed, and based upon that they will try to basically plan out the launch of new product, and that is how concrete data is evaluated upon to make any further progress. So now let's get started. Yeah. So before we get started, we need to understand what data is. And to understand data, like there are certain terms which relate to data, like data and information. So can anybody of you who is present in this session put on chat what is the difference between data and information? Just put a one-liner, a short answer, so that we can also see how many of you, yeah, yeah, people are calling out that data is raw. Okay, information is refined. Okay, any other opinions about the
Hi,
definition of?
yeah, this is Rashmi.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Rashmi.
Data is something that is a value. Say, for example, I'll give you example like say for example, a sale has been made, say, of 1,000 rupees. That is a data. And and the information maybe, say for example, maybe in a month, in a quarter, how much was the total turnover of a sale was happened. Probably that's the information. And if I say about the data inside, probably it will be something like, okay, last year the same month of August, how much was the sale, and now in this year, what is the sale now? So what is the increment? Say for about 20%, there was an increase in the sale. That will be data inside, I guess. The
Yeah, that's right. So that is very well said. So if I were to explain you the hierarchy, if I were to call out the hierarchy of this particular analysis, data analysis, so on the top you will find data, which is nothing but raw information, raw details. It could be anything, textual data or anything that is simply raw. That is the very first source of data that you have got is raw data. Now, any meaningful insight, or you may call it processing, any processing that you have done on that raw data is information. And then from that particular information, what you extract is an insight. So just like you know that that milk is there, but then through milk you can basically extract butter, and then if you further do the churning, then that butter can further produce ghee for you. So that is how data hierarchy is also similar to that hierarchy. So, and when we talk about data analysis, the structure that we need to understand is tabular structure. The two-dimensional structure is very, very important to understand before we start with our data analysis journey. So as you can look at this snippet on my screen, so we have this particular two-dimensional table that has certain rows and columns. So in our pandas library, pandas is how many of you know what a library is, or should I give you an explanation about what pandas is, or what a library is? Sorry, can you put yes or no on the chat? Yeah. Okay, so I will still still explain. So we have a library known as pandas, and I will explain in layman terms. So pandas is nothing, but it allows you to read two-dimensional data. And the source of your two-dimensional data could be your CSV sheets or your Excel data as well, or even your database SQL data as well. So it can read from multiple sources of data that has stored the data in two-dimensional format in the background. And why I am talking about this structure is because this structure is fundamental in learning pandas. Now in pandas, we have a keyword which is known as data frame. This is a concept in pandas. What is a data frame? So any two-dimensional data is known as a data frame. And any one-dimensional data which does not have two dimensions, it is only one dimension, it is known as series. So if you'll understand the literal meaning of series, a series is just a serial execution of anything. So in series, there is no another dimension. There is only one dimension. So if there is only one column, then that is a series. And if there are multiple columns which are having rows, then it is known as a data frame. And what is an index? The first column of your data that represents the serial number is known as index in data structure in pandas. And why I am explaining this all to you, because when we will learn pandas, we will have to revisualize these structure in our mind to basically map all of these items like index, data frame, and series to appropriate concepts. And that is how you will be able to uh, program your processing right whenever you are fetching raw data. Now, this was all with respect to my PPT that I wanted to showcase. Now let's take a look at some live data and do some data analysis. Let me stop my presentation. So, Sandhya, you are talking about 3D data processing. So, let me open my Excel sheet. So, see, the data that you are seeing is two-dimensional data. So let me first select a single row. If I select this particular row, my data only becomes one-dimensional. Now, if I select this particular section, then it becomes two-dimensional data. Now, if you're talking about three-dimensional data, then this tabular format it does not work there. what a three-dimensional data, if you're talking about three-dimensional data or a multi-dimension of data, then we have to rely on JSON files. JSON or if you have heard of databases like MongoDB or big data, we have various databases within those databases that are dependent on multiple dimensions of data. So since you have asked me, I will showcase you how that could look like. So let me open a notepad. If you want to represent a three-dimensional data, so now it won't look like this. How it will look like it? For example, let's say I want to represent name and I want to represent city. I want to mention city, and then there could be multiple cities of residence. One could be primary, or second could be secondary address.
అది
Okay.
ఫంక్షనింగ్ అవుతుంది. సో కొన్ని సందర్భాల్లో 10 ప్రోటాన్స్
I would request
11
all to
ఎలక్ట్రాన్లు
mute
ఉంటాయి.
yourself if you're not speaking,
ఈ 10
and then we can have age, company, let's say. So here, now if I were to represent this data in my Excel sheet, then for city, I can only have one column. And I cannot have multiple dimensions within my Excel sheet, which will be able to represent my primary address and secondary address. Okay. Now, if I were to represent them in a format, which is a readable format by machine, which is a multi-dimensional format, which could be read by programming, then how can I represent it? How I can represent in a JSON format. So in JSON format, we have to rely on these curly braces, and we basically represent name like this. It could be XXX, and then we have to specify address, and address would be like this. Primary would be address 1, and then secondary address 2, and then age, let's say 30, and then company, let's say HCL, and then I close the curly braces. So this is how my multi-dimensional data is represented in a JSON file. This format is known as JSON format. And if you are talking about any multi-dimensional data, that is more likely saved in this particular format in huge databases. And one of the examples being MongoDB. So that relies on JSON-based databases. I hope that clarifies for you all. If you got this concept clear, please do a +1 on the chat. If you are now able to understand how multidimensional data can be mapped. So here, if you will see, address has been mapped into subcategory, and by processing these curly braces, the database tools will be able to understand which is primary or which is secondary. Now, the fundamental of processing this comes under object-oriented programming. All right. So this is how your 3D data can be processed. But that is not how we are gonna target our session. That was just for explaining you how that can be processed. So now I will come on to my raw data, which is a 30 row data, wherein I have 4 columns, 5 columns, sorry. Now I am gonna do manual analysis over this data, and let's look at the manual process first, so that we later on know how much effort does it take manually to process the data, analyze it, and reach out some information and insights. And then we'll try to look at these aspects in an automated way, how Python, how pandas can help us automate this automation, help us completely do this manual analysis in an automated fashion. Okay, I hope you're excited to see it. So now I have a column which is name, I have a column which is age, I have a column which is city, I have a column which is occupation, and a column which is salary. Now let's say I want to identify all the people here in my data, and I want to identify how many of the people are based in New York. Okay, and let's say I want to identify how many people are engineers. So I want to identify within these 30 rows, if I were to identify how many people are engineer, then I see that John is an engineer, and then who else is an engineer? I have to basically manually search out randomly, okay, if I'm able to see some engineer or not. And then I process, okay, I don't see anybody. And I can make human errors because my eyes can make mistakes because I am a human, and I may not be able to reach that insight if I am dependent on my manual analysis. And for example, I want to identify how many people are from New York. Then I have to basically look for entries. Okay, this guy is also from New York. This guy is also from New York. This guy is also from New York. Now, what if I have 3 lakh rows? What if I have millions of rows present in my Excel sheet? Would I use the same approach to identify how many people are there from this particular city? Now, if I were to give you multiple situations, like identify people who are having same profession, identify people who are from the same city, and identify people who are within a specific range of salary. So would you continue to do that? Would you continue to explore row by row and match? Okay, if this person is matching, okay, yeah, I will take a note of it. Would you do it in this fashion? Or you would rely on something which would do that for you? So now let's do a processing on this particular data. Yeah, so all of you are saying no, so that is right. So now we still have some internal Excel tools, Excel operation tools that we can use to reach out that information, that insights. So how to reach out those? So let me select all the data that I have here. All these 4 rows I can select. I've selected all the 5 rows. Now here in Excel, we have something known as pivot table. I'm not sure if anybody of you know how to do pivot table operations, but this is an operation that can analyze data for you. So I will press OK. Now here you see that pivoting basically gives you this pivot table fields. Okay, I see some of you are already aware how pivot table works, but still there might be many people who might not know. So can I have a quick, can people who are not familiar with pivot put on chat as no, so that I am able to understand how many of you are okay. Put yeah, each and every one of you either put yes or no. Okay, some of you are aware, but most of you are not aware. So that's cool. So now look with attention. You will find this exercise very interesting. Now my query was, I wanted to identify people who are from the same city. So you see a number of fields here. So, and there are 4 other fields here, which are rows, values, columns, and filters. So in rows, I will put the data for which I need the row oriented data. And then you see value sum. So this would basically showcase the count for you. And in columns, you would put the fields for which you would need columnar data. So let me put name here. So now all the names have come here. Okay. Now I want to know their city. So I will choose city and I will put that within here. So now I see that this is the city structure. So Eden has multiple residences across multiple cities. Now, if I put the city data here, it will create columns for that. Okay, and if I put it here, it will create sub rows for it. And occupation. So now I want to know the occupation. So I will put occupation here. So here there are multiple professions attached. So here now you are able to see which person is what. Aiden is also a developer, also a lawyer. Alice is a doctor. Eva is a marketing person. Benjamin is an engineer. Bob is an accountant. Now, it is giving me a insight like who is what. But if I want to know the reverse of it, I want to know how many professions, what is the status for each profession. So I will reverse this process. I will put name in the below. Now I have profession on the top and I have people mapped to those professions. So I see that Liama and Sophia are both architect. Similarly, how many are consultant? Mia and Oliver are consultant. How many designers are there? Charlotte, Jane, Sophia. And engineer, we have 3 engineers. So this is how we are able to know, we are able to analyze some data. We are able to reach some insight, right? Now, if I were to, if I were there and I was doing manually looking at each and data, trying to take a note of it, I would have spent close to 2 hours in reaching out this data. Agree with me? Okay. Now, through these pivot table fields, we can perform numerous other exercises as well. So now, for example, I want to identify occupation. I will put occupation here, what all occupations are there. And now I want to know what is the count for each occupation. So I will put that occupation in here as well. Now it gives me an insight how many people are there for each profession. And it gives me some random count. I can also sort this data. So if I will go to row label, I have this option, more sort options. Descending, I can select count of occupation. Okay. Now it has sorted my data in reverse descending order. So now I know how many designations are having how many people in my data, right? So there are 3 designers, 3 engineers, 3 lawyers, architect. And now if I further want to know who are these 3 people, what can I do? I will put the name, I will select name. I will bring that within under the occupation. Now I know what all engineers are there present in my data and what are their names. Now if I only want to know how many engineers are there, I don't want to look at the other data. I only want to know what are the engineers available here. So I can filter from here, engineer. Now this is a journey from this much of data. I wanted to know how many engineers are there and who all are the engineers. And I also want to know how much salary are they earning. Now I will put that salary also under the values. So sorry. Now this is how I basically get their salary as well. I can also put the salary here as well. And instead of choosing count, I can choose the sum. Sorry. Okay, so for now I will put it here, use this only. So like this, I'm able to reach an insight, and which basically through this basically tooling, I'm able to reach out this insight, like how many engineers are there and what are their salaries. Right. Now, this was all manual effort. You can even automate all of these through pandas in by using Python. That is quite possible. So this is now imagine if this data would have been, instead of having 30 rows, if we would have had millions of rows, then even opening an Excel file like this, your laptop might have crashed, because that would be such a huge file, having millions of rows, thousands of rows, lakhs of rows. And for companies like, let's say, Reliance Digital, and who are making millions of data, like huge amount of data on daily basis, understand how much data, two-dimensional data would be analyzed on different days to reach out proper insights and information. So you need an automation in place to analyze huge amount of data. Manual analysis will not help you there. And that is how, if even if you're working in your organization, you are preparing some Excel sheet, you're presenting some presentations at the end of week, or maybe let's say a month, then these skills, data analysis skills, would help you optimize your work, would help you reduce your work. And that is how it can take you to a next level within your career. Now I will skip this part. Yeah, before I skip this part, let me also showcase you the visualization part. So since we had talked about visualization, so let me help you with visualization as well. So here, let's say I want to visualize this data. Okay, how to visualize this and what are the options available? So let me, before visualization, let me remove this blank because that is not required. Now, if I want to visualize this data, how can this be visualized? So in Excel, there are a lot of options available to visualize this data. So in Insert tab, if you'll go, there is an option here to visualize this data. So if you'll go on the 2D column, it visualizes in a columnar format. So this creates a visual for you of a bar chart, wherein each and every occupation displays the count mapped to an each and every occupation is displayed. Now you have multiple other options available which you can use. There is a 3D option. There is this particular option. So you can use an appropriate option through which you want to visualize the data. All right. Now, if I wanted to visualize some different aspect as well. Now, let's say I want to basically identify. Just a minute. Let me create another pivot. So I will create another pivot here. Okay, so it is counting instead of dollar. So let me convert this in dollar first. Yeah, I will have to refresh this page. Okay, let me skip this part and show the other part. So let's take city and let's identify how many people are, what is the status per city, how many people are living in different cities. And I want to have this data visualized. So I can even use a pie chart which says I have this status with respect to all of these cities. I can even change this chart. So I can use a 2D format if I don't want a pie chart. I can use any format that helps me represent this data in a proper format. Now, since this data is randomly organized, I want to sort this data. So I will use sorting options. I will sort in descending order with respect to count of the city, which basically represents my data in a proper format now. Now, why I am showing you all of this? So far, what we have covered is we have covered the fundamentals of our data, the structure of data, how we can manually analyze the data using Excel tools. Still, this operation, this tooling, pivot table operation also helps you up to a level, up to an extent, it helps you simplify that effort of manually analyzing the data. But still, it is a lot of effort. If you'll go to an actual sheet that will have millions of rows, even performing a pivot would be a lot of tedious task. Because if you have millions of rows and you are gonna select a pivot table, your Excel might crash. That that amount of capability Excel cannot hold. Any tool that is representing data in a graphical user interface format will most likely crash unless it is a very strong quality tool that is designed to specifically deal with such a sort of data. So that is the limitation of these tools like Excel. Although we are able to do some practical with these because this is not very huge data. This is only 8 KB of file, I believe. Now, how many of you were able to understand all of this so far and are clear with all the aspects that I showcased, all the aspects you are clear with, visualization, structure of data, what is data frame, what is a series, so that now I can move towards the Python aspects, how to do it in through Python programming. Okay, I am getting good feedback, absolutely clear. So thank you all of you, Tarun and everybody for giving such feedback. Okay, yeah, thank you, Ryansh. I am not aware of that feature, to be honest. I will definitely take a look at it, but I see you have a good potential and you are uh, you have good knowledge of data analysis already. So I appreciate that. So now let me close this part. And yeah, I had explored a few tutorials for you, which I would refer to you. So there is a website which is geeksforgeeks.org, and there is a good tutorial on data visualization for matplot. Uh, why I am using this public reference is so that you can also follow along. If I will share some custom code, you will not be able to run at your end. And this is how you will be able to practically cover up these as well at your end. And you can come back and discuss if there are any challenges you faced or you want any help. So I will put this URL on the chat and I will request all of you to also try this practical demo, this tutorial at your end as well, and come back with feedback, with challenges, with queries so that we can help you further. Now, let me open the Anaconda now. Seems there is some glitch in this. Let me. Yeah, so it's opening now. So we'll take a look at some basic visualizations that we can do through Python, how we can do certain operations through Python. So we'll try to cover some basic fundamentals, and then I will let Dr. Mukesh talk about these aspects. He'll share his experience and give you good idea about all of these data analysis aspects after that. So now this is Anaconda Navigator, and now you can see that it has a couple of Python dependencies that you can use directly from here. So, okay. So I'll take a look at it, Riyansh. Thanks for sharing that. So I will specifically use this Jupyter notebook. I will click launch here, and this will launch a Jupyter notebook for me, which is nothing. Oh, sorry. I had to launch Jupyter Lab, not notebook. Yeah. So now this is a Jupyter Python notebook for me. I will use select Python 3 to have my notebook. Now it gives you this kind of a layout wherein you can test your code in across like in multiple execution formats. So it gives me this particular text box. Are you able to hear me? I just had a network glitch. Okay, good to know that you are able to hear me. So now let's take a look at this matplot tutorial. So first of all, it is asking us to install matplotlib. And once we have installed this matplotlib, we will be able to use a submodule which is known as pyplot. And what this pyplot helps you with, it helps you with these visualizations, plotting a line graph, showcasing a histogram, creating a 3D plot, image. So for example, if you had this two-dimensional data and you wanted to showcase this in a graphical format like this, wherein it shows a line graph, you had to use this pyplot module under this library which is available. So this is a library matplotlib which has all those uh, fundamentals, those mathematical operations with statistics already present in this. You just need to use these operations, you just need to use these functions to showcase the end result. Now, if I were to run this Python program and I were to present this output, how would I be doing it? So first of all, I need to install matplotlib. If I don't install it, I will receive an error. Let me try executing. So I've copied the code here and this is a play button. So if I play the button, okay, it shows me the data because I had already installed matplotlib in one of my previous notebooks. So here what it does is it import. We are doing import matplotlib.pyplot as plot. So we are importing all the mathematical operations that are required to create a graph for this particular data. And then under this module, we have a operation available plot, which is available if you are importing. If you don't, if we'll remove this line, code will fail. Okay, I mean, sorry. I think it is already present in the history. That is why it is referencing it here. So it is able to create a plot for you. Now this is a line chart. If you were to try other recommendations that are present on the tutorial, So for example, let's come down and you wanted to deploy, let's say, okay. So yeah, here our graph is basically very simple. If you will see that there is no x-axis, there is no y-axis, there is no category that is defining for what this line is. So now in this particular code, you will see that we have our data, he points here. Now we want to create a two-dimensional graph, and then we also want to create a graph title, which says what this graph is all about. We want to lay a label for the y-axis and x-axis. And then we also want to set a limit, a maximum limit that a graph should show. For example, it is showing 80 here. And how do you want to represent your data? By showing the distribution. So you can even lay out these ticks in your graph, and you can also label your representation of the line graph as a legend. So if you'll call it a graphical format GFG, it shows this line talks about the graphical format. Now let's try to run this code. So now I don't need to edit this code. I can simply come to the next available portion, and I can simply play the click on the play button. It generates the output for me, this particular graph. Now the advantage of using Jupyter Notebook is that everything is available on a single screen. You can compare your data directly. You can execute different codes directly. There is no need to basically write and remove the previous program. No need to write multiple sheets of program and then test it on an individual basis. So this is the advantage. Now you can compare yourself what is the difference between this graph and what is the difference between this graph. It has distributions, it has x-axis labeled, y-axis labeled, and it also has a title for this graph along with a legend option that defines what this line is all about. All right. Now let's go further deep into the advanced areas. So for example, now here we are representing two x-axis. What axis are? So axis is we had this data and we want to represent it in two axes. So axis is, first of all, we were representing an XY format. Now we are representing the same data in YX format. And we are representing both the data in a single graph, through for which we are using this particular code. Here we are also importing another module which is known as figure. All right. And with the help of this figure, we are defining some formats here wherein we are saying that the area of that graph would be 5,4, like 5 inches and 4 inches. Width would be like height would be 5 inches and the width would be 4 inches. And this is how, if I copy this code and I run it here, it generates me this particular data, which has same data.
Iron material.
I request to kindly mute yourself if you're not speaking.
Classification
Kindly mute yourself if somebody is speaking. Okay, I will think they're not hearable. So coming down, let's take a look at the bar graph. So there is also an option to basically represent your data in, this option is also available wherein you can even customize. Just allow me a minute.
ఆ ముక్కను విడగొడితే ఇంకా చిన్నది 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 చేత్తో అట్టి
Okay. Yeah. So there is also option to customize how you want your graph to look like. For example, here, if you don't want a static line, you can use different options to plot your graph, wherein you can define the color, you can define the width, and basically you can define other parameters. And this is how you can update your graph as well. Now we will take a look at the bar chart. So what a bar chart is. Now, this is basically a bar chart wherein we are using some data which where we are reading a CSV file. So now we don't have a CSV file. What we can do is we can read an Excel file that we had. So I will try to read my Excel file. So this is my Excel file. Okay. And the name is analysis sample. So how I can read is my file is I just okay. For reading the Excel file, I think I had mentioned that we need pandas. To read any two-dimensional data, we need pandas. So we will have to import pandas, and we can give this command import pandas as pd, which would import pandas for us. Now we can read an Excel file is equals to read Excel. I will have to take the path. Uh, just a minute. I will give the path of the Excel file, and I will here escape. Okay, so we can skip this part, I think, for now. I will take a look at it. So let's try one more visual, and then I will hand it over to Dr. Mukesh, and then we'll be targeting the other aspects in our next session, since already it will be 5:30 in sometime soon. So we'll target the bar graphs in that session, and then we can look at the other aspects of data analysis by how we can read an XCSV file or Excel file, and how we can process the tabular data. So let's try this particular visualization and execute it. So like this, we are able to create at least our data visualization. So today, so far, we have learned how we can generate visualization of our data by using some raw data. Now, there is no dependency that we have to define our data like this. We can even read the data from Excel file. If we have similar data present in our CSV sheets Excel file, we can directly reference that data from there. And from there also, you can simply create visuals here through matplotlib libraries. And then we can also do the pivot operations part by using pandas operations. But for some reasons, I am struggling with the code. I will check what is where it is not executing right. So I will correct that part and come back in our next session strong enough to basically explain you again on that part. But let me know on chat if you were if you like this part that we did on we just covered on Jupyter Notebook and you find it interesting, you were able to clearly understand what how this visualization is done and how it can help you. So let me know if you were able to make some sense out of the very first session. Please put on the chat, also put on your feedback as well if there is any specific feedback that you do have. Okay, I see good feedback coming in. So thank you guys for all your feedback. So now in the remaining time, I would hand over to Dr. Mukesh to talk about some of these libraries, some of the data analysis concepts, and what we are gonna cover up in our next sessions. So he is an experienced personality. He has a good experience in IT. He has been like more than 20 years of experience he holds. So over to you, Dr. Mukesh. Please walk us through these Python items. But before that, I think Rayansh, you have a question. You have raised the hand.
It was left by mistake. Sorry for that.
Okay. Okay, no issues. So it seems that Dr. Mukesh has not joined due to some reasons. So no problem. We'll introduce him to in the next session. But overall, uh, please share feedback for your session if what we covered today makes some sense and was helpful in any manner.
Hi, this is Shruti. I'm not sure. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you, Shruti. Go ahead.
I just wanted to review the last part which you had explained for Python because it's entirely new. So would you be sharing anything for our review, any recording, or just suggest me if I want to review, what should I do?
So we definitely record the sessions, but I will have to check with my team first because that is not something I manage. I will check with them, and I think you are already subscribed to the Python WhatsApp group, so you will find the update there if there will be any update.
Okay, and meanwhile, if I don't know if recording will work out or not, but can you suggest us something where I can just go by myself and review the concepts which you have shared so far?
Okay, yeah. So I will share some references on chat. So I think I already shared this particular URL, which I will share again on chat, and I will share more such references. So here we also have references for pandas. So you can just type geeks for geeks pandas and you'll get a pandas tutorial here as well. And since I explained about Excel and doing pivoting operations. So those operations are covered under pandas. So here, if you'll take a look here, for example, there should be an example. Yeah, here there are numerous examples that you can refer to and understand how basically pandas are library is basically able to read the two-dimensional data and is able to process that data. So there are numerous examples available here, and I will check with my team as well about the recording part, and will let you know accordingly.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So any other feedback anybody wants to share on anything they want to ask, please feel free to unmute yourself. I would really appreciate if you are unmuting yourself and coming forward. Anybody?
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. I don't have a question, Brother Prashant, but I just wanted to kind of acknowledge today's session, the way you have conducted it. So it
Mhm.
definitely has given quite a good perspective about the practical applications of Python, mainly the data analysis part of it, and the presentation
Okay.
that you shared, and the sequence in which these things are going to be delivered, that will really
Mhm.
help us in gaining the insights about real data analysis world. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, for sharing such good feedback. Yeah, so definitely we plan to deliver much more. So, but since today we are at the end of our time, we will not be able to cover much. But definitely in our next sessions, you will see things speeding up, and we'll try to target some good areas to help you understand the fundamentals and prepare the ground in a stronger manner for data analysis.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Yeah. So I think this has set a good context of we starting to use the Jupyter lab that you have demonstrated, right? Means,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So I
sure.
would appreciate and request all to install Anaconda, and within Anaconda you will get all of these dependencies automatically there. You can use it directly from there. So that is how that can be useful. So an Anaconda will simplify your learning journey. So definitely install that so that from the next time onwards, when I am doing something, you can follow along quickly. That is how we'll be able to work it out. Okay. So yeah, just allow me a minute. So letting I'm handovering the session to Sister Raki. She'll explain a quick meditation technique to you all, mind relaxation technique, and then we'll wrap up the session again. Thank you all for joining.
Good evening, everyone. We typically end our sessions with a mind empowerment technique, so we can carry that throughout our week next week. Our theme today would be the power of determination. So let's meditate on the virtue and the power of determination. What is it that I cannot achieve if I am determined and have my mind set on a particular objective or goal? If I look back in time, in the several decades and years of my life, is there anything that I have not been able to achieve when I was determined? Determination does not mean achieving the end result or outcome. Determination only means putting in my all efforts to achieve a particular outcome. And while working hard and putting in my efforts, I am also detached from the outcome. The mistake we make is that we are determined to achieve something, and the moment, despite of working extremely hard, we are unable to achieve it. That's when we are disheartened and broken from within, temporarily. So let's understand the real meaning of the power of determination. What does it entail? And how does it empower me to achieve something that is out of the ordinary? We have all achieved extraordinary results in our life, in unique aspects, in unique ways. We are all extraordinary individuals. Someone may be training us today in this session. They have an extraordinary trait or a quality to train. But each one of us in this session has an extraordinary personality which contributes towards society in a unique way. And through my determination, I have built that personality. So when I fail to achieve what I was determined to, I have to replace the word fail with success. Success in the perspective of all the hard work that I put in to qualify to reach for that goal. But that goal was not my end destination. In my perspective, that was my destination. But in the bigger picture of life, that was just a small journey that I was covering, not for that destination I had aimed for, but to build a lot of skills, experiences, lessons learned through that process. So my determination did actually help me succeed in going through a journey. The goal was not my end destination, not selected by life for me. It was selected by me for me. But my life knows what is better for me. So when I surrender the outcome to life, my determination serves me as an asset, allowing me to go through that journey of hard work, of efforts, of learning lessons, of gaining experiences. That is my success. Not the unachieved outcome that I decided. So whenever I surrender the outcome to higher powers and I live my life moment by moment with all the hard work and effort being put in, that is success. Success is not measured by material outcomes. Success is measured by how we deal with situations and challenges in our life, how we deal with failures. If I fail in my mind, I could be successful in all areas of my life, but if I fail in my mind, I have truly failed. But if every outside failure does not impact me, that's when I have truly succeeded. So when we say using the power of determination in day-to-day life, we are truly saying, be determined not to fail in the mind, in the face of any challenges, any negative outcomes, any undesirable results or achievements. Because I am determined to move forward. Nothing can stop me from moving forward, and nothing can make me feel low. That is my power of determination towards myself. So going forward, while being determined to achieve a particular career goal, family goal, financial goal, personal goal, whatever objectives we have set, inspirations, aspirations we have, let's also add this power of determination for ourselves along this journey, that no matter what the outcome is, it will not impact me. I will be unaffected. I will still move forward because that outcome was a redirection meant for me as a gift from life. So I look at the redirection. I focus on the redirection and not on what was not achieved. So let's move forward with this determination that every moment is an accurate sequence of events taking place in my life. And while I have the liberty, the freedom to choose and to act and to work hard and put in my efforts, the results are not in my control. And whatever the results are, they are extremely accurate for me because life knows better than me. I have a limited perspective to time. Life has a past, present, future perspective to time. So let life decide. Let me work hard and let life decide. Always surrender when things are not out of our control, not in our control. I always surrender. I'm determined to keep moving forward. Because every failure, in its true sense, is a step forward to success. Success in a better arena than what I had planned for myself. Only time reveals the better plans life had for me. So I'm determined to believe in the accuracy of every incident, every event, every situation that happens to me. That is my determination. So let's sit with this and absorb it for a couple of minutes. Let's wrap up today's session. We wish you all a great week ahead and look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you, everyone.